Good morning. So today we are only reading Joshua 5. I was doing some research. I go to this place called thebibleproject.com, and they have information about how to read the Bible, about the different parts of the Bible, etc. So the one thing I was looking at was about Joshua. So there's four main movements. The first one is the Joshua leading them out of the promised land, which was Joshua 1 through 5. So that's why we're going, we're stopping only on 5 today because tomorrow we are going to go and start with the battles of Canaanites, and that's Joshua 6 through 12. So we will do 2 chapters each day on that one. And then they get victory. And then from Joshua 13 to 22, we are going to divide up the land. And then Joshua 23 to 24 is when he says his final words before he dies. Okay? So when I initially looked at this, they entered Canaan around 1406 BC. So it goes, instead of the numbers getting bigger as the years go by, the numbers get smaller as we get closer to AD. So as I said, 1406, and then the book of Joshua was written around 1390. So as I said, that'd be 6 plus 10, 16 years after this happened, and that's about the time Joshua died. We don't know if he actually wrote the book. No one knows if it was actually Joshua or if it was someone else. And many say that Joshua wrote it, but we don't know. And this is a narrative. So what a narrative, it's a storyline. So that's why it's a little bit easier to understand. It's not like the poetry. It's this is what happened. And then, so as I said, we are entering, they have crossed over the Jordan River, and we are now getting ready for the battle at Jericho. So let me start. I have my Bible here, and over here at my computer with the Bible Project to see if there's anything else I need to let you know. So just give me a second. So in chapter 5, they're looking back at their roots as God's covenant people. So the one thing that they did for generations upon generations and generations to honor the covenant of God's covenant, is they get circumcised and they have their first Passover in the new land. And then at the end, we are going to be left with a cliffhanger. Okay? So you ready for this? Okay. And I will return because I have one more thing I say. Now, when all the Amorite kings west of the Jordan and all the Canaanite kings along the coast heard how the Lord had dried up the Jordan before the Israelites until they had crossed over, their hearts melted in fear, and they no longer had courage to face the Israelites. So, they are getting scared. At that time, the Lord said to Joshua, "Make flint knives and circumcise the Israelites again." So Joshua made flint knives and circumcised the Israelites at Gibeath Haaraloth. Now this is why they did so. All those who came out of Egypt, all the men of military age, died in the wilderness on the way after leaving Egypt. All the people that came out had been circumcised. So all the people that when they left Egypt, they were circumcised. But the people born in the wilderness during the journey from Egypt had not. So circumcision had stopped while they were wandering the desert for 40 years, okay? The Israelites had moved about the wilderness 40 years until all the men who were of military age um, when they left Egypt had died, since they had not obeyed the Lord. For the Lord had sworn to them that they would not see the land he had solemnly promised his ancestors to give us, a land flowing with milk and honey. Again, milk and honey. That means it was fertile for both crops and the cattle, and it was ready to give them all of their needs. It did not mean that there was actually going to be milk flowing from the rocks. It did not mean that there was going to be honey, all over the land. It just meant it was a very fertile, that they were going to be able to prosper there. Okay? So he raised up his sons in their place, and these were the ones Joshua circumcised. They were still uncircumcised because they had not been circumcised on the way. And after the whole nation had been circumcised, remember there's like thousands and hundreds of thousands of people, they remained where they were in camp until they were healed. Then the Lord said to Joshua, "Today I have rolled away the reproach of Egypt from you." So the place had been called Gilgal to this day. And so Gilbeth Harlof means the hill of foreskins, because there's going to be all these foreskins all over the place. And Gilgal sounds like the Hebrew word for roll, R-O-L-L. Okay. On the evening of the 14th day of the month, while camped at Gilgal on the plains of Jericho, the Israelites celebrated the Passover. The day after the Passover, that very day, they ate some of the produce of the land, unleavened bread and roasted grain. The manna stopped the day after, or that day, and they ate this food from the land. There was no longer any manna for the Israelites, but that year they ate the produce of Canaan. So God no longer had to provide their food for them. They were in the promised land. It was going to be easy for them, or easier for them to get their own food. The fall of Jericho. So we're going to read the very last bit of 5, and then we're going to leave on a cliffhanger. Now, when Joshua was near Jericho, he looked up and saw a man standing in front of him with a drawn sword in his hand. Joshua went up to him and asked, "Are you for us or for our enemies?" "Neither," he replied, "but as commander of the army of the Lord, I have now come." Then Joshua fell face down to the ground in reverence and asked him, "What message does my Lord have for his servant?" The commander of the Lord's army replied, "Take off your sandals, for the place where you are standing is holy." And Joshua did so. So this is in reference to Moses, and when he saw the burning bush and he was in the presence of the Lord, he's like, "Take off your sandals." And that happened in Exodus 3:1-6. Okay. And Joshua was confronted by the living God, just as Moses had been in Exodus 33:9-11. Okay, so cliffhanger. Next is we're going to start with the Battle of Jericho. Yay! So the one thing chapter 5 lets us know that this is not the Israelites versus the Canaanites. Instead, it's God's battle. Israel will play the role of spectator and only sometimes act as supporters in his purpose. Okay? So, this is going to be God's battle. We're going to find out what happens there. Okay, with that, be blessed. Have a great day. Bye.